Hello. So you all wanted some more phrasal verbs, so let's get started on it. And remember, phrasal verbs, they're everywhere and they can be a bit confusing. So remember, practice makes perfect. So let's get started. Brush up on. When we want to improve something that we've learned, knowledge, something that we need to try to remember. So for example, it is important to brush up on English every day because if you don't, your brain will forget. So when we brush up on English every day, we're keeping it in our brain. We're also improving our English. Another example, I need to brush up on my Spanish before the trip. So if I were to take a trip to Mexico or Spain, I definitely would need to brush up on my Spanish because I would need to speak a lot of Spanish when I traveled there. All right, let's go to the next one. Clamp down on. This was when we want to be strict to prevent something. So, for example, the government is clamping down on illegal parking. That means they're really enforcing the rules, where now if they see you illegally parking, you're going to get that ticket. They're clamping down. Maybe as parents, some of you are parents, maybe you're clamping down about internet rules at home. Maybe you find your child is spending too much time on the internet, so you're clamping down. No more internet after this time. If you are not listening, you're going to have a strict punishment. So when we want to be very strict to prevent something, we clamp down on it. All right, let's go to the next one. Fizzle out. So this is when something gradually, and gradually is another word for, slowly, not quickly, but gradually. So when something fizzles out, it gradually ends. So for example, their relationship started strong but fizzled out after a few months. So basically, what this example is saying is it slowly died out, but their relationship did not end immediately, meaning they did not break up immediately. It fizzled out. That happens sometimes with if you've got teenagers. They will have this fashion. They have to have this fashion. Everybody's wearing these type of jeans or shirts or whatever, but it will slowly fizzle out and there will be new fashion. So, and that just happens with anything. Sometimes, wow, new iPhone is out. Everybody's excited. Long lines are at the Apple store. But the excitement slowly ends. It fizzles out and then nobody cares anymore. So that is fizzle out. Let's go to the next one. Go through with. Ah, to complete something difficult or not fun, unpleasant. Unpleasant is another word for not fun. So, example, she didn't want to get a tattoo, but she went through with it anyway. She didn't want to, but she went through with it anyway. So, when you go through with something, you do it, but you don't want to. Sometimes people don't want to have maybe dental work. I don't like to go to the dentist. People that know me know I don't like to go to the dentist. But sometimes I have to go through with it anyway. Don't want to, but I have to. Sometimes children don't want to go to school, but they've got to go through with it because they've got to get an education. I know every Monday morning, I don't want to go. I don't want to get up. Don't want to, but I've got to go through with it. I've got to start the week. Everybody's got to get back into a routine on Monday. We don't want to do it, but we have to go through with it. All right, next one, iron out. So when we want to resolve some conflict, difficulties, disagreements, we iron them out. So the two teams met to iron out their differences. If you've been paying attention to the news lately, maybe Elon Musk and President Trump need to iron out their differences, meaning resolve it. Kind of a funny example there, but the meaning of iron out is obviously we want to resolve it. Maybe you've got children who are not getting along, just constantly bickering all day, and you say, children, you need to iron out your differences today. I don't want to listen to it anymore. Maybe you have a colleague at work just not getting along. So you've got to iron out some differences to make your day a little bit better at work. So again, we want to resolve this. We iron it out. All right. Jack up. This is very common in the United States. This is when we suddenly increase prices or maybe interest rates. They jacked up the rent by 20% last month. Wow, I went shopping. Everything was so jacked up in the stores, meaning all the prices have gone up. If you're looking to buy a car lately, wow, those prices are really jacked up right now. They're more jacked up than they were like 5 years ago. So when things suddenly increase, interest rates, prices, it is jacked up. An example on interest rate. The interest rates are so jacked up right now that people are not buying homes because the interest rate is too high. So jacked up. All right. Own up to. When we take responsibility, we admit to something, we own up to it. He finally owned up to breaking the window. So maybe this was your son. He was playing baseball in the street. He broke the window. You asked him what happened. He said, no. And then finally he breaks down. And remember, breaks down was one of our other phrasal verbs. He breaks down. Okay, I did it. He just owned up to it. He confessed. And I call it kind of like personal responsibility. When we own up to something, we say, hey, I did this. I accept responsibility. So we own up to it. I forgot. I had to own up to something last week. I forgot I had made an appointment with someone. Wow, they were waiting for me. I wasn't there. I could have lied and made all of these excuses, but I didn't. I called him up and said, wow, I really have to own up to my craziness. I am so sorry. I forgot. My apologies, my mistake. So I owned up for what happened. So when we take personal responsibility. All right. Phase out, kind of like fizzle out in a way, to gradually stop using or providing something. So a lot of fashion you see with teenagers, I guess even adults too, eventually it phases out. It's popular today. In 6 months, it phases out. Kind of like the iPhone. Everybody wants the new iPhone now. It'll phase out and something bigger and better will come along, especially with iPhones. The company plans to phase out old software next year. We definitely see that with technology. Something becomes the latest and greatest, and then it phases out and something better comes along. It fizzles. All right, next one. So fizzle and phase out could definitely be similar. Rope in. We want to bring somebody or maybe a group of people into conversation because we want to persuade someone to help us. We need to have them understand the situation. We roped him in to help with the decorations. So we want him to help, so we roped him in. Sometimes, being a teacher, you might want to say, wow, I want to help your child, but I need to rope in this teacher because that's their expertise. You might have a doctor the same way. Wow, I'm just a general family practitioner. You're asking me a question about something I'm not familiar with. Let me rope in this other doctor. So we want to have someone join us, either helping with school decorations or maybe for their expertise. So we have them join us. We rope them in. That's a little bit strange one, isn't it? when we learn all of these vocabulary words, and then we have rope in. Interesting. All right. Zero in on. This is when we're directing all attention towards something. Pay attention. Zero in on this. So, for example, the detective zeroed in on the prime suspect. So, hey, everybody look at this person. When you are giving a presentation at work, at school, wherever, and you want your audience to pay attention to something, you might say, everyone, please zero in on this example of what I'm saying. So when you want everybody to focus on this, for example, I have this water bottle. I could say, wow, my water bottle says purified water for your thirst, but zero in on this. It says recycle for the planet. Oh, trying to get it to my camera. Recycle, recycle for the planet. Zero in on what that is saying, everyone. Please recycle. So what I just did is I read to you what's on my water bottle, but I don't want you to focus on that. I want you to focus on where it says recycle. I want you to zero in on it. So another way of saying focus. So I know I went through this kind of fast, but you know how to find me. Message me if you want more explanation, you need me to slow down, or you just have a general question. I'm always here to help. Thank you so much for your ideas. I love them. Have a great rest of your day.